Hey guys, Jay here, and this is my Anime PDX 2 review. Okay, sort of a review, but whatever, you guys understand. It's just like the other reviews that I've done. Kind of a review, kind of just a rant and rave, and kind of a recommendation type thing. So I'm gonna go through a couple categories and let you guys know what I felt about different things. And then at the end, I'm going to recommend whether you should go or not. This time I am making a second video that I will post at the exact same time, and I'll make sure both of them get published at the exact same time, and that way I can just link them together or whatever. But I usually put my figures and things like that I got, like a little showcase of what I got and what I got signed in this video, but I felt it's not really needed anymore and I can just do its own, like a video on its own. So that'll be up in the card up here. So go ahead and check that out if you want to go see what I got and what I got signed. So to start the review, let's first talk about the location, which was bad. I would not recommend them going back to this hotel, but I mean, it's up to them. But honestly, this hotel was really tiny. For being a Crowne Plaza, it was really small and cramped. You'll see it in my footage. It's very, very small, and there you could only go around like in a circle, in a small circle, and that was like it. It was maybe 2 minutes to walk around, not even 2 minutes. That was it. No, that was the convention. So it wasn't something I would suggest a convention do. But I guess I don't know what it's like to go to a just starting convention. Like it's their first full weekend to be a convention, you know? It's their first actual convention experience rather than just a one-day event thing. So I don't know what it's like, you know, I don't know any of that stuff, so I'm not gonna like dock them for that, I guess. Newcon is a bigger hotel, so he must know what he's doing with hotels. He must know how sizing works with how small you are of a convention. I don't know. He must like know how many people are they're expecting to attend, and then kind of work around that. I don't know. I guess we'll figure that out at some other point, maybe in the future if they go to a bigger hotel or something. So the hotel was actually extremely expensive. So we actually stayed across the street in what's called the Shiloh Inn, and that place sucked. I mean, it didn't really suck. It wasn't a really bad place, but it wasn't good either. It was expensive for what it was, but it was cheaper than what they wanted at the Crowne Plaza. A lot cheaper, like 50 bucks cheaper, 75 bucks cheaper. Yeah, it was about $75 cheaper. So I'm going to pick that instead. So moving back over to the Crowne Plaza, I don't think you guys care about the Shiloh Inn. Moving back to the Crowne Plaza, there was a hallway, which was a fire hazard for everybody to be standing in. That's where we had to line up for registration. And it was very bad. So I guess we can move on to registration now. Registration was a jumbled mess. They were late by like an hour or two. I don't remember exactly when they were supposed to start, but they were like an hour or two late. So we were waiting in line for quite a while. There's nothing we can do about that though. It kind of, you know, whatever happens, happens, I guess. It's a small con, what do I expect again? But when we did get up to the table where they were doing all the registration and giving pre-reg badges and all that kind of stuff, whatever they were doing up there, we didn't even make it all the way up, and they were already looking for our press badges. So, side story here, if you guys saw my review for Newcon this last time that I went, which was in January, if you guys saw, December, January, it was New Year's. If you guys saw that review, you guys would have heard that getting our badges was a complete horrible mess. I'm not going to get into it. If you want to go watch that, you can go watch that and learn the story that way. But before we'd even gotten up to the table, they said, "Hey, we have your badges. We're getting them right now. Whatever." And I was like, "Oh," and I was kind of taken aback a little bit because I'm a small channel. I mean, no one knows who I am really, so I didn't think they know who I was or something. But apparently they know me well enough to know my name and who I am. So they remembered Newcon because the person that was doing the badges, it was Michael, who runs the convention, who runs both Anime PDX and Newcon. And I don't know who the woman was that was doing it, but she remembered me too. Apparently she's the first person that got called at Newcon when they were trying to figure out where my badges were. Like the person who was at the desk called her to find out if she could figure out where they were or whatever. So she remembered me from that debacle. And they're like, yeah, they'll be right out. They're like, you can get out of line and just like stand over by those doors right there. It was a really small little hallway area, so we just went on the other side of the hallway. You know, you can still see us. They were only like 4 feet away from us, not even. That's how close they were to us. So they're just like, well, when we find your badges in just a second here, we'll just make sure to hand them to you. I was like, oh, need my like ID or anything? No, we know who you are. Okay, works for me. Not gonna say no to that. So that was all good. That kind of made things a little bit better. So I was pretty happy about that. Made me enjoy the convention a little more. And honestly, I actually did enjoy the convention quite a bit. I was very surprised. Actually, Atlas and I were both very surprised at how well the convention actually went. For what it was and for what we know about Michael and the conventions and stuff like that, what we've heard or things like that, it was actually a lot better than we expected, so that's good. So we could probably move on to staff now. Staff was actually pretty good, except for one set of staff. I'm just gonna call them a set of staff. I don't know who they are. So we went into an event that was, I'm pretty sure the lip sync battle. I can't remember exactly, but we went in there and we're pressed, so we don't have to sit down. That's like part of press. We get to walk around and film. That's literally our job. We're videographers. That's literally our job, is to walk around and film the event. So we were trying to, we were staying in back to try and be out of people's way so other people could see that we're sitting down. But the only two places we could go are either in the very back or on the side. Neither of them are sitting down. There's no way we can sit down and make sure that we can see what we're filming. That's impossible. 100% impossible. We actually tried that at another event and it did not go so well. It hurt really bad to hold the tripods up the tripod up, and I was holding the stabilizer up, which was heavy. It was just a pain in the ass. So the good part about this is actually Sunday night, before we left, or it's evening, whatever, afternoon, I don't even know anymore. I think it was like 4 o'clock or something like that, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And we ran into Michael, the head of the convention, and we had told him what happened. And he said that they should not have told us that we are allowed. So I was right. We are allowed to be either standing in the back or off to the side or something where we don't have to be sitting down. And he's like, well, I think this is more of, I just need to educate them a little bit more on what you guys are allowed to do. Because he doesn't expect press because of how small the convention is. He literally, me and Atlas, we were the only two press people because nobody else wanted to do press for that convention. So he doesn't expect it at all. So he's not used to it. So he's not used to telling the people, the staff, what they should expect from us. So that's kind of on me too, because I should probably, as I'm trying to be professional about it, so I should probably tell him what I plan to do, and I didn't do that. So he didn't know what to tell his staff. So that's kind of my bad for not telling him what I was trying to do, and then he couldn't tell them to accommodate for me. So they just kind of did whatever he said the first time. And it makes a whole bunch of sense. It's fine. The cool thing was, as bad as people talk about Michael, he's actually very nice. I don't know if it's, to get on people's good sides or whatever, because I don't personally know him, So all I know is just who he is at the convention. But Saturday night, it was like dead. There was nobody there. Me and a couple other people were sitting at a table. Atlas and I were at one table, and these two girls were at another table, and we were all just kind of talking. And he came up and noticed that we were still there for the night. And he's been busy throughout the entire weekend or whatever, and he never had time to stop by and talk to me or anything like that. So he finally stopped, and he was actually wondering how things were going and making sure if things were going all right. Unfortunately, at this point, I forgot about the whole forcing us to sit down and not being able to film from behind or to the side to standing up thing. So I didn't tell him that at that time. So he couldn't educate his staff in time for us to do another event. But moving on from there is the only other really bad thing, and that was the attendees. it's not really how they acted so much as who was the attendees. So most of the people who were there were like 14 or 15. So you guys probably see where I'm going with this. It was basically WeebCon 2017. It was pretty much Haikyuu, Yuri on Ice, and New Voltron. I'm not gonna call it regular. I'm not gonna call it Voltron, Legendary, whatever. I don't care. It's not Voltron. I don't care. I don't count that as Voltron. I grew up on Voltron. That is not Voltron. None of them know what the old Voltron is. Like if you say Voltron, you say, "Oh, I used to watch that when I was a kid." It just came out. Okay, yeah, good for you. You know, those kids, yeah, that was the majority of the convention. There were a lot of good cosplays, but I mean, it's just so abundant. And those people are the annoying group that are like, you know, they're 14 and 15 basically. They acted 14 and 15. So that's basically, but having 100 of them in one convention, you know, or having 100 of them, only them in one event and nothing else to counteract it, it's kind of annoying. But we did get a lot of footage of other cosplayers too. I did get a couple of Voltron characters or whatever, I think. And then, you know, a couple of people who were, who just looked nice, you know. I wasn't trying to be biased against anybody, so I got pictures of whoever I could. But some of them were very clearly clicked up and didn't want to talk to anybody but their friends. But yeah, that was pretty much the convention. It wasn't too bad actually. So for recommendation, I would say don't bring your fancy costumes to this convention if you go. It's worth going to if you're 14 and 15. I mean, I bet it was hella fun for all of them. I would not doubt it. It's a place for them to all hang out, and all their friends are cosplaying from the same stuff. They know the cosplays because it's only new cosplays there basically. So all that kind of stuff. So I would recommend it for those type of things, but I would not recommend it for your big bulky costumes because there's very small hallways and it's very hard to get around with how cramped the space is. So don't bring those. So if I was to bring Cloud, I would have been smacking people by accident and things like that, and I don't want that happening. So I need a large open space like outside. So I would have probably been outside dying in the heat instead of being in the hotel where it's air conditioned, which would have sucked. So those type of costumes, or those type of props and things like that, those are not the ones you want to bring. So if you have casual cosplays or you're just planning to go just to go, then yeah, do that. Oh, and actually before I forget, there is one last part. The dealer's hall and artist alley, I forgot about that. It's small. That's all you really need to know. There's a lot less stuff than a bigger convention, obviously. But I mean, it's the same thing. So it's just, think of any convention you've ever seen a dealer's hall. Just make it smaller. That's it. Alright, so that is it for this video. Hope you guys liked it. If you did, hit that like button, maybe subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.